somewhere in the back of my past, this big scream of, what time is it?
Is this a simulation that we're actually living within?
I'm on auto replay. I'm on auto replay.
Because we can't see the bear, there is the perception that it doesn't exist.
It's thinking about past or future time in the present.
In the last episode, we talked about fear. In this episode, we're now going to talk about time and how time is important to all of us, because we've reached a certain time where we're making decisions about the way we want our lives to be. And we've often had to deal with time in how fast we've had to work. And quite often we've been working at a level 5 or in gear 5. And after a certain period of time, you can actually get completely burnt out. So we need to occasionally go back down to gear 1 or occasionally into neutral, just so that we can revitalize ourselves and start to appreciate life a little bit more, which is actually quite useful at the moment when we're actually in this kind of quiet period and can have a chance to reflect and do things creative.
Well, funny enough, the universe didn't care about this time, because I've got my phone recording here in front of me, and someone just tried to ring in the middle of our time, and they're going to try and move a stop so we can start again. And we're going, but that moment is already gone now. That was our time to do this. And now it's another time. And
well, you probably saw me just there with my mobile, because my mobile started doing all kinds of noises, and I actually just switched it off as we were talking there. So I thought that was actually
but now I can't switch it off because I have it on.
No, we need that one on.
But now I want to tell everyone else, don't contact me. Don't try and jump in this time. This is my time. This is our time. Yeah. This is the time to do this.
This is the on-air time.
Well, we're still contactable in the universe, which is the weird thing about it. And actually, the minute you said the word time, I was immediately reminded, I somewhere in the back of my past, this big scream of, what time is it? And you go, because the kids are normally saying it, or someone is usually shouting it. It's time to do whatever it is they were talking about. Time to do something. What time is it? The time is now. And the gas thing is, I'm reading the book at the moment, The Power of Now. Now, I'm not getting too far into it, but the very statement, the name of the book is actually the moment in time that's most important. The power of now. This minute, this second, this instance is the only instance that matters. The past is the past, the future is the future. Now is the future now, and the past was the past now, is only now in all of our time.
Well, what's interesting about that is that quite often we end up in our heads thinking and planning about what we're going to do next, and all worrying about what's just happened, because did we do something wrong, which is the fear coming in. So you're either looking backwards on things that you can't change, as you said, or you're looking forward too much that you're not appreciating the now. And I think that's where you need to actually just get into action and do stuff.
You've triggered in me in our sort of film production speak, the Doctor Who effect. Yeah. We're going in our head. We're traveling back and forward in time. We're the doctor of time. We're in charge of what we could possibly do in the future. We are in charge of the now more so than anything else, but not in charge of the past. We were responsible for it, but it's gone. It's dead and gone. Bury it. Maybe bring it forward in sense of learn from it. But there's nothing you can redo then. Well, you can create a new then now. Yeah.
This is where it gets very interesting, because I was thinking about this earlier on, because last week we did the podcast that we did, and I had a video of it, and I was able to go, and I'll be doing this again in the future.
Oh, you're traveling in time. You're my Doctor Who.
I'm actually taking what we're recording now, and I'll re-edit it or edit stuff or edit the pictures. The experience that we're currently having of how we're interacting, that'll change, because I'll be able to cut in between. And because I mess around with time.
I know, you'll make you look better, me look worse.
Absolutely.
You'll have more air time, and I'll have less. So it's going to take you time to get that air time to take away my show time.
Well, the interesting thing about that is that what you end up doing as an editor is you look to see where is the thing that will actually excite the audience. What will keep the audience intrigued. So the images that you try to put on screen are the ones that connect the audience to what's
Oh,
actually
I
happening.
got to jump back in again because we've had a conversation before whereby we're the audience of one,
Yeah.
and we're seeing how much airtime we can, show time we can give ourselves, and do we look well in this edit or this cut, and it's all about me, 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 and then we might, or you might, put it out to the universe, and hopefully we'll take someone else's time and give them some entertainment in that moment. But I mean,
Absolutely.
but you're deciding, or we're deciding by the creation of it and then the package. So what we're doing is we're using time, creating entertainment, and packaging it to consume future time belong to someone else.
Yes, absolutely. And again, because we realize that we're taking their time, which is what you mentioned before, we need to make sure that that there was a number of in what was it called? Film Courage is a YouTube channel, and in it, some of the people were saying that if you send a script to them and you rob them of their time, they can't get it back, and that's what they're always worried about. But so, as an audience, we want to try and or for our audience, we want to try and make sure that we haven't robbed their time, so that by the time they get to the end of the piece that we're presenting,
I'd like to go one further and go, I'd rather not just rob their time. I'd rather rob their time and get us to pay for the privilege of doing it, because that's where I think you were mentioned before. There's patronage, or there's
is that
models.
Dick Turpin or Robin Hood?
Well, am I giving back? Well, Robin Hood was meant to have given back to the poor. Well, these poor people that are this time they don't know what to do with, and we're saying, let Robin Hood have it and use it by listening to the likes of us rambling on the background of your subconscious moment in time, and we'll occupy that for you. Use it up quite happily. We'll charge you for the privilege. Well, or we'll suck you in now and go, hopefully you'll listen to one, but we'll charge you for the next.
Yes, yeah. Well, I think again, it's all about we're now talking about our target audience and making sure that we provide what they want, so that they actually do feel that it's actually worthwhile giving their money for.
And that's what you were saying earlier on: is if it's not show time, why would anyone be bothering investing their time in airtime?
So it's about entertaining and
entertainment, exactly.
using the
how you use, and it's back. I think at the very beginning of this conversation, I'm remembering now the word fear.
Yeah.
And the fear, it's not in the context of this is I was talking to someone else earlier on and going, based on my age, or both of our ages being in the early 50s, mid 50s, we're halfway through. We're more than halfway through, or hopefully there's going to be some great leaps of science that will make that it's not halfway through. But given the odds, it's more than halfway through. So the fear is we've less time than we originally had. Where our sand jar is being used up and it's less than half full, and the little grains are dripping down, and there's lots of films that we saw where they can put more grains back in or turn it around and give us a second go at life, and we're going, no, there's time. It is consumed. It's moving. It's going forward. Yeah. It's going forward at a steady pace. It's measured.
Well, somebody said that
we have to do something with it of value.
Yeah, somebody said that time and work, there are two components. One of them's infinite and the other one is not. And they actually said work is infinite, time is not.
Whose work? The whole point is work is finite if what we're contributing is our mortality into this infinite journey of time itself. But we're only X grains of sand in that journey, in that jar of the time of the universe.
The time of the universe. Well, one of the things that's quite interesting is that if you end up working on your own constantly, you find that you're going to have to use more of your time to get something done. But if you can actually collaborate with other people, then you can shorten that time to get the thing done
now this
quicker.
Is interesting. Now, what's just jumped into my head is you've got time, I've got time, but they both occupy the same space in time, because it's not that we've created more time per se, because you said, even though time is infinite, it starts at the Big Bang and ends maybe the Big Bang again, another Big Bang.
Well, they have found out
we're running on a parallel course within that, and we all have the same, we're effectively all got parallel grains.
But the interesting thing is that psychology has discovered that people perceive time in different way. So, for example, at the moment, our time may seem a bit sort of slow, but if you were about to have an accident, quite often what happens is everything looks as though it's in slow motion, because your perception of time has actually speeded up or slowed down, whichever way, so that you can actually react within the short amount of time that you've got. So the perception is that you've got more time to allow you to react to what's going on. So that becomes quite interesting. You're actually time traveling in a different different speeds to somebody else that maybe
Oh,
just
no,
watching
I'm
what's
having
going on.
horrible visions of you're seeing the crash in front of you, and you're accelerating towards it, and what it is your history just caught back up with you and flashed through your brain as you hit the wall, and
Absolutely.
you could experience it all in an instant. Now, hopefully, we've just jumped from that moment into the astral plane of heaven.
Yeah.
And wherever that is, or some sort of my next life or reincarnation.
Oh.
Actually, someone's trying to rob time again.
Hang on.
Oh,
What's all that?
actually, it's Big Ben himself.
Oh my goodness. All these things are going on. Hang on.
No, stop it. No, that's annoying now. That's annoying me and my time.
I know.
It's taking my time.
It's crazy, isn't it?
You're gonna have to edit this one out.
No, that was done deliberately.
I know, but it's very sad. Didn't entertain me at all. You didn't tell me if we discussed this beforehand. I'd be going, I just got itchy. I just got scratchy. You just took some of my time for that time. And I go, it's Bell. Actually, I suppose what you're trying to say there, or show there, is the fact that we associate Big Ben, the big clock, with the passage of time, and the 12 o'clock, the 6 o'clock, the Angelus remind you what time is it. We can see him. We can see it up there. We can see time pass if you watched it for 5 minutes. And as you said, if we're on an island, we don't know what time of the day it is if there's nothing around to measure time by. But if we're at work, we're going, can we not kill time so it's time to go home because I want to get back and have kid time.
And the other thing is that when you are enjoying yourself and you get that disruption, because you're Mr. Disruptor, I thought, well, let's find a way of disrupting you.
I was only think about that afterwards. I'm not Mr. Disruptor. I'm Mr. Interrupter. And I am, as you can see. I keep on doing it. I will talk over. I will talk around. I will talk through. I will learn in time not to do that. Now, someone goes into this thing. The weird thing is, if you start going, how many times is this person going to say that word? I'm now going to stop saying it, hopefully, and we'll move on, because we know what the subject is. It's fear and time. The fear of lost time, fear of what you're doing with it, and are we using it properly? The power of now, the book. There's only now. What are you doing? Will it make a difference? Are you enjoying yourself? Don't worry about tomorrow. Don't worry about yesterday. Let's do it. Let's live in the now.
And that's where quite often you get a few little goals that you want to try and see, and you put them into action. And the little things, just small things, just to see whether you can achieve what you want to do within that small amount of time, which is actually what I did this morning, because I put that thing together it took a little bit of time.
You wasted your time, trust me.
No, I didn't. I think it was quite interesting. It was just an interesting. Well, part of the exercise was also to see whether is there a way of actually feeding something else in from another source into the system, so that we could have other little things that could come in as part of that process of what we're recording, that we can then react to if we want to.
That's triggered something in me again. I was looking at something last night, and there was, again, I think it's to do with the kids and influencers, and they have all people out there on their timelines, if that's what it's even called, are commenting, liking, tweeting, or just but there could be a million comments, and you're going, where are these comments going? Because that person cannot consume them, cannot answer them, cannot read them, because he'd spend a lifetime.
Well, here's
just
something.
Someone else's use of time.
Yeah, I decided not so long ago to go through Facebook, and I started to go through all the images that I had, and I found that I had 5,000 or 6,000 images that I'd actually put up. And I kept going through and scrolling through and kind of going, oh my God, I didn't realize that was there. I didn't realize that was there. I didn't realize that was there. And then when I'm finding
a record of your time past spent.
Well, yes, but also, I mean, Google is also capturing every time you go for a drive in your car. They're actually they're keeping a record of when you go on your destination, and so that's also a record of everywhere you're going. But that technology is now being used to track you as well for the coronavirus.
Well, now here's a weird thing: it can only track us for a finite length. So we're going to live. We're going to actually. I think one of the weird things now on the Facebooks and all these things is there's more dead people on it than there are alive, and there will be a time to be more dead people on it than there are alive.
Which is actually where you bring up the idea that is this a simulation that we're actually living within, or is this actually reality?
You're saying we're the ultimate Sims.
Yeah.
So actually, we're watching Sims in on our PlayStations and things, and actually there's some other alien version that we're actually that to them.
Yes.
And we think we're in control, but if you start thinking of all the parameters there of restriction, in the sense of you're born, you die, you've got, give or take, it's 100 years. You can't create more or less. You can't bring it beyond your future. You cannot bring it into the past. And there's a million of you or a billion of you moving around this machine. Actually, that reminds me of now is Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and So Long and Thanks for All the Fish, and these sort of books whereby the planet is a big computer, and we're actually the moving parts within it.
Yeah.
And actually, the planet was built. I'm going to ruin it for you at the moment. Now it was built to arrive at the answer to the ultimate question of why are we here?
Yeah.
So I don't know what another one of the books was: life, the universe, and everything. That's we're a constituent part of that journey and explanation of life, the universe, and everything. And our predecessors, or actually, I don't even know the word. Our predecessors were our ancestors, or is that?
Yeah. That's predecessor.
And whoever we're the predecessor for is going to, maybe in our chromosomes, we're carrying through some of this history, and later on it can be accessed, and then maybe see through our eyes the journeys we all went on. Because if you think of people waking up and having like reincarnation or deja vu, these are possibly time stamps in the chromosomes of previous generations that will actually, when you access them, tell them you weren't the Prince of Wales or the Queen of Hearts or whatever it was. You were a chambermaid, and you were a scullery maid, or you were some servant in a field, because somebody had to be, billions had to be. Only a couple were royalty, or the kings and queens. Yeah.
Well, what's interesting is that we've just got sent a video of our grandson who walked across the room to pick up a block and back again and put it back on. Now he's only 13. There's somebody else trying to rob me.
That's the one you didn't prepare earlier. Yeah.
I hope my mum gets that. That's interruption. So that's not me. That's definitely not coming from a computer.
Saying now, that's the universe.
That's the universe
saying
doing its own
it's
thing.
Interrupting. It's going, what do you want? Ask the universe for what you want. I want more time.
Absolutely.
No, maybe I want more. It's not more. It won't give you more time, but it might give you more quality.
Yes.
So that's what we have to give more value to it. Each second has a value, but are we giving it? Are we actually using it for its purpose intended? I was the accidental accountant for 30 years. Hopefully, we're going to invest these seconds and build them into a new, not legacy, but a new value that can be captured and consumed by others in different moments on life streams of time.
Well, what I was talking about was my grandson there, which connects to that life dreams of time. We were watching my son walk, and he's only just a grandson walk, and he was just sort of beginning to walk. And then my wife and I were remembering back to when our son was that age and what was he doing, and then we kept talking about, oh, hang on, what about the VHS that we had, that we recorded of them doing that, or the Super 8 that we had? And then the difficulty you've got now is that today, the VHS, who's got a VHS recorder? I can't find the VHS recorder. I can't find the little things the VHC things that we used to put in, and you kind of go, how do you capture all that stuff and get back all those memories?
Conversation this morning with a very good friend of mine that said he's 400 CDs and he's just found the time for don't know where and don't know why, all of a sudden, to get them scanned onto iTunes. So he's achieving that job in the lockdown, and it's a job he never thought he would get the time to do. And it's done. And now he's got 400 CDs going. You don't consume them that way anymore. They were in a box for the last 10 years. You put them back in the box again. Now we had a little chat and says, there's a different value. Now that you've extracted the value of the sound and put it and digitize it, and you can consume that particular value through your iTunes and that way. Now what value do these CDs have? Now the imagery on the box. So we actually arrived at wallpaper the walls of your music room with them. Now they're accessible with the old CD if you want to go through them with the nostalgia of playing a CD in the old CD box thing as opposed to the record in my version. And you can listen to the song digitized in your ears while you're doing that. But wallpaper the wall and make an art installation. And now you can, because what this is this was your previous history of buying one a week for 400 weeks in the past. And this is your collection. And currently it's in a box in the attic. But you had to travel through history to arrive at this point that gave you this collection of which you had lost value because you had no time to reignite it. And,
I remember there was a course, an online course in 3D that I wanted to do, and I bought it. It may have cost me a couple of $100 or something, Australian dollars. And I thought, well, I'll get round to doing it at some point.
I love it, get around to doing it.
Yeah, and it's kind of, because you're sold the idea that you have access to this for the whole of eternity, right, whatever. And then all of a sudden, about a year or so ago, the guy goes, right, I'm going to take this off, so download it as quickly as you can because it's not relevant anymore, and I'm just going to take it down. But the original promise was he'd leave it there for us all to use.
For eternity.
For eternities.
And how long was eternity? It turns out 7 years, 4 months based on some guy or something.
But you think that that's the way the CD was actually said to us. That's the way, film. How do we get a Super 8 film if that's what we've recorded of our kids as in the 70s or 80s or whatever, in my case in the 90s? How do you get that transfer without costing lots of money? So all these technologies that keep coming and going, you're told that you can keep it as a permanent memory that you can have for years and years and years and years. And then a few years later, they come up with something else.
There's a weird one, a permanent memory.
Yeah.
It's not the memory. No. If your brain cell can't pick it up and store it, then it's not a memory. It's just a piece of paper with some colors on it or music. That's the weird thing. We've got bodies that go on one journey and a mind that might have a more limited time. God forbid people have Alzheimer's or this. But actually, I think, in my very limited understanding, they're gone back a number of years and they're replaying. They're replaying like a portion of time where they think their father's their son or whatever it is. Now again, I'm very uneducated. I don't know. God forbid I'm insulting people left, right, and centre with relatives that have this condition. It's just It's more. I like to think that they're trapped in a loop of a time that they enjoyed and they're happy with, and that's what's going on.
Well, I mean, there's a couple of things quite interesting there because we had a family member that had vascular dementia, and what happened was it seemed that they got into a little loop and they were recalling a memory, and the thing was that you had to go along with it because if you didn't, you actually disturbed them so much because they were living where they thought they were. It was only you that knew that they weren't, but it was actually easier to sort of repeat what you'd actually said and just suck it up kind of thing. And that was actually quite a useful thing to do. But what I was looking at recently was in the psychology of memory and how we remember things. Now, I know that as we've been talking quite often, you've said that you've forgotten what you said 10, 15 minutes ago. And it's only when I
said 3 seconds ago. I am
absolutely
the ultimate goldfish.
But actually, that brings us back to that power of now. You see the full. Yeah, but you see the power of now. The power of now means that you have to be now. So what was actually quite interesting is that what they were saying is that we're designed to be in the now, not in the future or not in the past. We're actually designed to be now, and we have to filter. We suck in so much information that we have to figure it out. Now, in that book that I was reading from 1962, they were saying, well, if you think about the images you see, you've got an image of me where the background is staying the same. I'm the thing that's changing. My hands are moving. And they started saying, well, why can't we? All you really need of this image is that background once, and then you just work out what other bits and pieces. So what they were doing more recently, well, I say more recently, over the last 20 years, is to create a compressor of video. Was they suddenly started taking the background image, the same as if we were using some of the software and changed the backgrounds.
Only changes. That's the whole point.
They're only using the thing that changes.
But not only that.
Exactly. Yeah, but not only that, it's like if you look at the last 3 or 4 seconds of us actually sitting here, we've only moved slightly, so they actually take every 12th frame and the computer works out what happens in between. So there's only actually 3 frames per second being used to create all the images that we have in front of us.
Back in terms of your actual life,
then
I haven't moved. I've actually sat here. We've been listening to sound has been moving, stories have been moving, sound waves and visual waves have been moving back and forward and recalculating in our brains. But as you said, did anything happen in the background? Well, the pool table didn't move. It was solid and stuck in. No, it did move. It's traveling at 365,000 miles an hour, traveling through space, lapping the sun in a universe that's whirring at a different speed and traveling through other, solar systems. So everything is moving.
But our perception of it is
that it's staying still. And actually, it's the thing you're talking about in terms of the screen. It's for me to see it. The waves have now traveled from Nuri to here via 34 satellites and gigabyte, God knows what. It's been reconstituted. We're beaming up and beaming down. We're star tracking it, just not in the material sense. You're in the room, you're just not. Your mind.
Yeah, but what's interesting is if you think about the opening scene of Matrix, where they have all the code streaming down, and when eventually Neo, the main character, suddenly starts to see the reality as it is, all he's seeing is ones and zeros of all the agents. But there you
go. We're so close. Well, in this context, we are that. Okay, if you're listening to the podcast, it's sound waves. If you're watching the vlogcast, it's both whatever waves. But in the term actually, and what's in both of them, so in some near future, because it's not going to be because we're not live streaming, it's going to be there's going to be this other molecular consumption, because as you said, now whoever's in parallel, whenever they're spending their lifetime of the power and now to be entertained or consume sound and visual waves.
If someone's actually watching us, let's say in 10 weeks time, this very video, when they get to this very point, the video is in the now. We are now in there now. Do you know what I mean? So this is
now. I don't even know the author's name. Eckhart Tolle, A Guide to Spiritual Enlightenment, and the power of now can transform your thinking. The result, more joy right now. And actually, Oprah Winfrey said that. It's now. Only now.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
There's no other. And in a second, it's now again.
What's interesting is that, say, if we go back to that 10-week thing, if whoever's listening to this podcast in 10 weeks' time, their perception of now is that they're listening to these two guys have a conversation. But we will be doing something totally different.
We hope. We better be alive. Otherwise,
if we're sitting there in there now, doing exactly as we're doing now, we've been caught in a time loop.
And that's where we're going. This little legacy thing that we're chatting in the last podcast, going, what can we leave behind? We can leave an old picture. We can possibly leave a video. We can have to be podcasts. If we generate 300 of these things in the next 3 years, there's what we've done is left some of our time, some of our thoughts recorded for prosperity. No, whether they're worth anything or not is a different. No, we think they are because we're willing to invest our time of the now.
Well, let's explore the difference between a still image and a moving image. A still image is a moment frozen in time from the past. A still image is always in the past. A moving image is always in the now, because it disappears every 25 frames a second.
What moving images are, as you said, is 55 frames of the exact thing which was before, just strung together and repeated.
But it's always in the now. It's always in the now.
No, that's the whole point. It's instantaneously in the next now, being consumed by the individual watching it. If they dropped dead in that next second, that now stopped. If there's no one, it's like if there's a bear shit in the woods, if no one hears it, you're going. If no one's watching the video but was on play, but there's nobody in the room.
Well, there was a concept that if, for example, we were talking and having this podcast, and there was a bear doing its stuff in the forest, because we can't see the bear, there is the perception that it doesn't exist.
I know. Now we're on to going with proof of the past of someone else's dream future and a captured still that we can look at. Now we're saying, how do we? All the business books we're reading is, if you don't know where you're going, how you'll know when you're going to get there. And what they say is you're meant to visualize the future now and go on that journey. And every now you can that you actually spend is on that path to that fulfillment of that future journey. But we know from The Power of Now, the book, every future moment is a now in the future. So and every past moment is a now in the past. And if we remember the past, we're bringing it into the current now. And if we dream and aspire to a future now, we're actually creating it.
We see that's where memories are like films. When you replay the memory, you're actually living the memory in the now. When you watch the film, you're watching the film in the now. So if you watch Casablanca now, you're seeing it in the now, not in 1942, even though you're reliving with the characters what they're going through.
You start comparing the current now to the now it was actually done in, and actually start going, Mother of God, prehistoric days, and like the kids are going, it's black and white. There's no new background music. There's no CGI.
Well, I remember back in the past, not in the now. I remember an experience where I'd been doing a post round, and I came back to my granddad's, and I sat there watching his black and white TV, and I was absolutely exhausted. And then I started looking at the photographs that are on the mantelpiece and went, I didn't think they were in color. My mind, because it was so fatigued, suddenly colorized everything that was in the room. So everything that was black and white, I suddenly superimposed
go see
in
a
color.
doctor. That's not normal.
It is normal. It is actually normal because we're filtering out the information. Yeah. So basically, it's like if you had an image of that was basically just the shading of me just sitting here, you wouldn't have any lines just here. But because you know that a face is designed in a certain way, you fill in all the other contours. So your brain is actually filling in all the gaps just to make you see things.
That's like saying if you're going to do something in business, you've got to dream it, then be it. Actually, I think that's actually Rocky Horror Show again. It's another song from that. Dream it, be it.
It just shows how we get influenced by all that media.
No. Again, and I'm thinking I only ever listen to Talking Heads on my couple of CDs in the car, and I say a couple of CDs. I haven't for 20 years. I can't remember any lines of the song. I mean, my kids are going, why are you listening to the same thing again? Can you not sing along at least? And I'm going, no, it's brand new to me every time. And I enjoy it every time. Yeah. And because I'm only living in the now. I haven't captured the past. And this is now entertainment to me. And I'm on auto replay.
Well, that's actually that's one of the things that's really great about watching movies, and especially replaying them, because the first time round you see certain things, the second time round you see something else. And then the third time round, if you're watching the likes of Game of Thrones, you might see the coffee cup that's on the table that shouldn't be there because it was actually a Starbucks in the wrong place.
Well, but you start watching it for entertainment.
You're starting to pick up information that you hadn't really picked up before, and you're starting to see things differently. So when you do play through things again and again, you get other enjoyment out of it because there are multiple layers of what's going on.
There's a worry and anxiety and The Power Now, and every other book I've ever read, the worry I'm not too sure of the science or otherwise. Worry, anxiety, stress, they're all connected. And again, it's in this, like, depending on if it's chronic or acute, you're replaying the past, or you're worrying about the future. In both cases, it's thinking about past or future time in the present, and then using up the present on something that's already happened and cannot be changed, and a future something that hasn't happened and you could influence, but you've already consumed it in the now, and you've actually lost it. Now this thing is going. I've used up on my phone all of my space and time.
We're actually about 33 minutes, so we've probably come to the end of our video, and we should probably call
There's no time left.
Time.
There's no time. Like the present. We've run out of time.
Quickly, clapperboards, upside down, whatever.
Clapperboard.
George's clapperboard.
The show, the end. That's the end for this time.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks a lot. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe and click on the bell for notifications.